With your permission, I'm going to stand down here. I have to refer to the slides a great deal, and I can't see them as well from on the stage, so if I turn my back to you periodically, I apologize, but that'll help me get through. All right, so let me tell you truly a little bit about our district. If you're new to the area, you may not know some of these details. It was established in 1981. It was originally part of the Dripping Springs School District. Dripping Springs was huge. It went from Dripping Springs all the way to Mansfield Dam. Gigantic school district. I'm not sure how they afforded bus runs and gasoline back then, but they split off in 1981. Began with a single schoolhouse with 2 portable buildings, approximately 500 students, and we've grown rapidly. I'll show you some enrollment numbers in just a moment. At the time, the population was about 800 residents, and today we have 118 square miles. Includes the Hills, Bee Cave, Lakeway, Briarcliff, 8,700 students, and nearly 22,000 residents in a very brief period of time. This is a snapshot of what the student population looks like in the entire state of Texas. About 5 million students, a little over 5 million, 13% African American, 51% Hispanic, 30% Anglo, so forth, 60% economically disadvantaged. It's a national poverty index that qualifies families for economically disadvantaged. 60% of the school-aged children in Texas fall into that category. Texas adds 80,000 students a year, every single year, to the enrollment figures of the state of Texas, predominantly non-English speaking poor children. There are a little over 1,030 school districts, 8,200 campuses, and 640,000 employees in the state of Texas. Compare that to our school district, about 8,700 students this fall. You see our demographic breakdown, 14% economically disadvantaged. We are very different from the state as a whole, very, very different. Highland Park is 0. Eanes is about 2 or 3%, to give you a comparison locally. 500 new students a year. We have 9 campuses, opening number 9 this year, and 1,050 employees. So let's talk about that student growth. From 1982 to this past school year, that is our enrollment growth. Not one single time have we dipped or decreased in enrollment. And I'll show you a little bit more about that. In the last 10 years, we've added 3,400 students. That's a 62% increase. And as Jeremy indicated earlier, I'm chairman of the Fast Growth Schools Coalition. That's made up of about 100 school districts out of 1,030, and 80% of the 80,000 students a year that come to Texas end up in 10% of the school districts. And that is important later when I'm talking about school finances, okay? So hang on to that number. So what about into the future? This is a projection of our enrollment through 2022-23. Here we are at 8,700. Our demographer projects we'll be at 13,085 at the end of about 10 years from now, 8 or 10 years from now. That is an increase of 4,800 students, or about 60%, compared to 3,400 students and 62% over the previous 10 years. Our enrollment is not diminishing or slowing down. It might be accelerating a hair. And we get an update to our demographic report every 2 years. We're having one done this spring. This fall will be ready in January or February, and we'll have updated numbers from that report. Our demographer is one of the best in the state. We met with her last fall. She was sitting beside me in a room of a group of us, and she was irritated with herself because she was off by 2 students. 2. And she looked at her lead demographer and said, man, we got to do better than that. I'm thinking, man, if you're within 200 kids, I'm pretty impressed. She was off by 2 and was trying to refine that in some way. She also gives us 3 scenarios of growth, high, medium, and low. We use our moderate growth. That's the third projection in 10 years, 1385. The high growth would be about 14,700, and the low growth about 11,800. And she's been dead on the moderate growth every time. If you do that every 5 years, it's a little sketchier. We do that every 2 years, and we get very, very good figures with that. If you want to know how do we compare in our enrollment growth to our neighboring school districts, this is an absolute change in a 1-year time period, 11 to 12, and it's hard. You can't read the scale down there, but anything in red is a lot. That is Leander ISD, absolute change, 952 kids in 1 year. A couple of years ago, that was 400 students for us. But the real key is to look at that in percentages. How do we compare percentage growth? And we are at 5.3% in 1 year, and we do that 5 to 6% growth every single year, around 450, 550 students a year. And that's been consistent, and we expect that to continue for the next 10 years. Dripping Springs, Manor ISD, Gerald up there at the top, Eanes ISD 0.5, Austin ISD minus 0.1%, a little bit of a decrease. They should experience another decrease this year. But look at a 5-year span there. 2007 to 12, Leander ISD, in absolute numbers, 7,700 students. We were at 1,937 students, but looking at the percentage change for that 5-year time period, we are again leading the group, 33%, Manor ISD 38, Hutto 32, and so forth. Eanes 7.1%, Austin 4.7% in a 5-year time period. Our demographer tells us there are key reasons why our district is growing well. We have a low economically disadvantaged population, high tax, any state test passing rate, highly educated population. 57% of our population has at least a bachelor's degree. High medium income level, 8,700 students, $87,000, probably closer to 90 or 91 now. And high growth due to a strong positive perception of the school district in our community. If you want to know where is the growth occurring, these are neighborhoods in our area. Sweetwater is expected to grow 450 students in the next 5 years, 548 students in the 5 years after that, or nearly 1,000 students in the next 10 years. If you've not been out to Sweetwater or West Cypress Hills recently, I was out there last week, they are exploding in their growth out there. Rough Hollow, 822 houses in the next 10 years, and so forth and so on. You see where that growth is concentrated by neighborhoods. The economy is great. And I'll talk to you in a minute about what does that do to our revenue for Lake Travis ISD. Where do these students that are coming to us move into? 77% of our districts move into actively building subdivisions. Rough Hollow, Sweetwater, West Cypress Hills, Rocky Creek, so forth. Only 15% of our students move into existing houses like older Lakeway. My neighborhood is Ridge at Alta Vista, built out for the most part. And 8% of our students are in apartments over that 1 year time period. What kind of housing units are in our school district? This is good news for our realtors. We currently, in 2011, we had nearly 14,000 single-family homes compared to 1,900 apartments, 88% to 12%. Those percentages will shift a little bit in the next 10 years. We're nearly doubling our house rooftop numbers in the next 10 years to 23,250. 4,400 apartments, that's an 84-16% split. We're building some apartments in the area, but they tend to be pretty high-priced apartments. We don't see a lot of students, children, families with children moving to those, either young professionals or retirees. And so most of our students are going to stay in single-family homes. Where are those houses occurring? And this is a map of our school district, and anything in red is over 800 houses, I think, 400 houses in this 10-year time period. And you see the growth is occurring out 71. Very little growth occurring in the Hudson Bend, Old Lakeway area. A couple of those are called planning units that you can see those shapes there. Some of them have 0. You see 1,058 down Hamilton Pool Road, 888 out towards West Cypress Hills, 0 in the that's east of the Spanish Oaks area, and so forth, so on. You see where that growth is concentrated along Highway 71. That's where our 2 new schools are going as well. All right, here's an interesting question. If you've seen this slide, don't answer. How many children, on average, live in each household? If you think you know the answer, shout that out. 3. 1.2. 2.3. 2.65. Okay, we're going to the 100th decimal place. 0.44. It's deceptive because not every house has children in it. My neighbors across the street don't have any kids. If you take all the rooftops, the apartment buildings, how many are on an average 0.44, almost 0.5. And so that's deceptive. It's interesting. Apartments is less than that, 0.24. It's the houses that have children might be 2.5. So the million-dollar question, a couple of them are, if we've added 3,400 students in the past 10 years, we're adding 4,800 students in the next 10 years, when are we going to have a bond election? And we don't know. We've not called one. We're speculating 2017, 2018 down the road. Probably call for at least an elementary school, if not two, probably a third middle school, and then superintendent hot tub on the roof of the administration building, anything we can get out of that you'll vote for. We're growing rapidly, and we need facilities, and it's a blessing and a problem sometimes. In fast growth school districts, you have to put them in a chair. And our buildings are built, our elementary schools, some of them are up to 800, 850, middle schools for 1,200. And you can't squeeze more than that in there because you can't feed them. They can't get to the nurse. They can't get in the library. They can't walk down the hallways. You can't keep adding portables or adding classroom space. Your core facilities run out of room. And so if they're coming, we're obligated to build a house for them, a school for them. So what about a second high school? We have property, and I'll show you that in just a moment. We have property for a second high school, but we're hoping that if our moderate growth holds, we will be on the cusp of needing a second high school. No superintendent wants to open a second high school. It's called the widow maker. The arguments are not about AP calculus or how many sections of English honors can we offer. It's about colors, mascot name, school name. And people like Guy Clayton, who grew up here, they're very emotional about the mascot, and people get very attached to their one high school and their school colors. And do you call it the old high school and the new high school? And it is a bloodletting process. I plan to retire before that happens. But there are options, and it's way too early to have that conversation. We have property for a second high school. A board and administration prior to me had a lot of foresight, and we have property. We can do that. You need 100 acres minimum to put a high school on with some athletic facilities, at least practice facilities there. And so that's down the road. If we get to the point where we need more room in our current high school, we can talk about either a second 912 building, or you talk about a magnet, a technology magnet, a fine arts magnet, and having a smaller building somewhere that's not a full high school, but it bleeds off 5, 6, 7, 800 students, and your original high school can still maintain, which will be 3,500 student capacity, can still maintain its original team. You have one team. Ask Plano what happened when they opened their second and third high school. If you grew up in the Metroplex in the 80s, it is a diminishing effect on a community. And if you're like Frisco, you're going to build 10 high schools eventually. You're Cypress Fairbanks, you already have 10 high schools. You're building 2 more. Building the second one's no big deal. But if you're ever going to only have 2, and that's all we would probably have, then that's a troubling conversation. College Station ISD just opened their second high school. We'll probably only ever need, and they did a beautiful job. The superintendent survived that. He just retired by choice. And by choice, he wasn't forced out. They did as good a job with that as I've ever seen in the state of Texas. And so I don't know the answer to that, but we are having that conversation with our board and our leadership team periodically. So let me talk to you about construction. We passed in November of 2011 what we call our 2012 bond, with great appreciation to our community and the leaders that helped pass that $158.5 million bond. That included Hudson Bend Middle School expansion, Lake Travis Middle School, West Cypress Hills Elementary, expansion of Lake Travis High School into the current LTMS campus, and some upgrades and improvements across our district. So let me tell you about those projects. Hudson Bend Middle School, expansion $22 million, went from 900 student capacity to 1,200 students. Field and Associates did a remarkable job. If you've not been in that building, it's just stunning on the inside. Construction contractor, Baird Williams. We started June 12th, and phase 1 was finished a year ago, and phase 2 was finished this summer as well. That is the latest aerial photograph. It's a little bright in here, so some of the detail is lost on our photographs. That's an aerial view. The lighter rooftops that you see there, that's all new additions to that building. And just spectacular, very nicely designed and built building. That's the rear view. You see on the left side, those 3 pods are academic additions and wings. That's a computer rendering of the same thing. The red rooftops are the new. And then it's a little hard to see. The top left is what we call a neighborhood area. It's between 5 or 6 classrooms, and there's some neat furniture there. Classrooms, we use that for large multi-group kinds of conversations. Kids congregate there before and after school. And you see that color scheme there. And then the bottom left is what we call our sky bridge. It's a connecting tunnel across the back to ease and movement around the building. Then new Lake Travis Middle School, $53.7 million, located at Bee Creek Road. If you've been out coming from Marble Falls Inn, you've seen that construction going on out there. 1,200 student capacity. Field & Associates designed that as well. Bartlett Koch is a general contractor, and it will be complete this summer. And on completion of that building, the current Lake Travis Middle School will become a part of the high school campus, and I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. It's an artist rendering of the front of the new LTMS, an aerial view, a computer model aerial view. The other side of that building, I'll show you some actual photographs. That's a bird's eye view. That's an actual photograph taken about 2 weeks ago. In the middle is an equestrian facility. And the entrance, that's Bee Creek Road at the bottom edge of that. The entrance will be on the right, pass through the front of the building, and exit on the left. 2 lanes coming in and out, nice flow. The improvements to Bee Creek Road will be drivable for 4 lanes, at least 4 lanes by the time school starts, and they'll finish that project by December or January. And that's the rear view from Marble Falls-ish area. A great deal of grade change on that site, a lot of retention ponds built there, football field on the bottom left. And that's a layout of the upper level. The academic wings are 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You see those. Libraries in green, administration's to the left of the main entrance there, and gym, cafeteria, and fine arts on the right-hand side. And the lower level shows those academic spaces bottom. It's going to be a spectacular building. Beautiful. Computer-generated interior shots. That's another one of those neighborhood spots in between about 5 or 6 classrooms. What happens is kids tend to spread out in the building, and so we divide and conquer. It's easier to manage when you've got 300 or 400 kids in a space as opposed to 800 of them in one space. That's a scary. If the children ever figure out they outnumber us, they could take over about 10 to 20 to 1. If they ever figure that out, we're in trouble. But the kids tend to break up into the building, and it's much easier to manage the morning, and it's a smoother start to the day. That is an exterior shot taken about a week ago of the front of the new middle school. And the top picture is the inside lobby. They have some terrazzo flooring about to go in. Bottom left is our practice gym. Bottom right is the competition gym. And the seating in the bottom right is right underneath me there. And it's just kind of hard to see. Science wing space, some photographs there. And the one in the bottom middle is the entrance to the bathrooms that you can't see, but the tile work is just beautiful. And it can be ugly tile, it can be pretty tile. It costs the same. And it's pretty tile. It's a nice rainbow color, and it just really looks great. Ugly is not necessarily cheaper. Now, we're going to do our part to ease traffic on 620. Where's Steve Jones? Steve, we're helping you here, man. First of all, we're moving 1,100 kids out of LTMS, and they're going way out 71. So that'll cut down, because none of those kids drive. Their parents drive them. It's a lot of traffic. Only about a third of our students district-wide ride a bus. And so 2/3 of that building, traffic is going to be gone, at least for the next couple of years. So that'll ease up. TxDOT will be, the northbound lanes turning into the high school property will be 2 left turn lanes instead of 1. And if you've seen it lately, it's striped for 1. Don't worry, they're going to go back and restripe that. Somebody jumped the gun on that. So that'll be 2 left turn lanes. And we're going to move the stop sign that's there on our property, we're going to move down to the left so that cars can stack and queue longer and get off of 620. And so the entrance to the old middle school will be moved also. It's hard to see in this picture, but you'll enter at that second stop sign now where that white box is, and kind of come around there. We're going to do that work over the summer. No one's in that building. It's being renovated right now, so we'll have this year. We're moving the stop sign this summer, but we'll have the year to redraw those entrance and exit areas. So that we're doing our part there to help 620 a little bit. The question we get a lot is, what are you going to do with the old Lake Travis Middle School? And frequently people say, I heard it's going to be a 9th grade center. And most people don't know what a 9th grade center is, but they think they don't like it. Doesn't matter, it's not going to be a 9th grade center. A 9th grade center is a standalone building, has a separate principal, separate counselors, separate administration. It is a separate building, even if it's next door to a high school. We're not doing a 9th grade center. That building will be renovated this summer, this next school year, and will become a part of the LTH campus, making that campus to have a total capacity of 3,500 students. That'll take us several years into the future, 8 to 10 years into the future. We spent a great deal of time. People wonder what we do all day. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out what are we going to call the thing. Because that's confusing to people. If you're picking up a kid at the old LTMS building, do you go to that door or do you go to the old door? And so Kim Brentz and her team thought about it, and we came up with a very creative name, LTHS Annex. It was either LTHS East, LTH West, old building, new building. I mean, there's not a great Lancaster complex. That was turned down, but that's the name. It will provide housing for the academic programming for freshman classes in English, science, math, and social studies. In addition, we'll also have health science classes, orchestra, dance, cheer, wrestling, golf, and in the near future, theater arts classes as well. It'll have a second cafeteria located for any student in the building, and it will also have a second media center, what we think of as a library. And Ms. Brentz is working now with a group of students to make this a true technology media center with a student-run help desk and a juice bar. Yeah, right, juice bar, that's great. So that's what we're doing with that building. West Cypress Hills Elementary School, opening this fall, $25 million building out on 71 in the West Cypress Hills neighborhood. Architect was Pfluger. Bartlett Koch is building that as well. Started in March a year ago and is finished for all practical purposes. Furniture's in there. They're doing some electronic technology installation, but the building is essentially finished. I was there Thursday. Spectacular building. I'll tell you in a minute about open houses that you're invited to, and we'll share more about that in just a moment. Aerial view, computer rendered aerial view of that building. That street at the bottom is Cypress Ranch Boulevard, the main entrance in and out of West Cypress Hills subdivision. That is a layout of the building. You come in at the red arrow, the main entry. Libraries on the right, administration on the left. K and 1 and 2 is the bottom left area there. Second and third grade are in the top right, and then the lower level is 4th and 5th grade. Lower level, correct, Jim? Goes down. There's a little bit of a grade to that, grade change. The gymnasium is the green on the upper left, cafeteria upper right. Just a beautiful building. Got some computer-generated shots for you. That's the front of the building, the back of the building. That would be the second and third grade wing on top, 4th and 5th grade wing on the bottom. Computer-generated interior shots. And an actual photo about a week ago of the exterior building. Beautiful facility, great location. There's some interior shots. Of the top left is just a standard classroom. And top right is, again, one of those neighborhood areas where groups of students can gather. And I hope you'll have a chance to see this building. Playscape outside, cafeteria line, cafeteria and stage on the top left. The main rotunda, not rotunda, but kind of a crossroads center there at the main entrance, the gymnasium, and then the library at the bottom right. That's an aerial photo taken a couple of weeks ago. Now, if you look close, there's about 6 houses already under construction that weren't there 3 months ago. And so when you build it, they will come. And there's been 3 more that have started since this photograph was taken as of last Thursday, probably 2 more since I was there Thursday, a week ago. So a lot of construction going on out there. That's the rear view of the building, a lot of trees, great play area outside, just a beautiful facility all the way around. Ribbon cutting dates. We're still waiting on some feedback from one of the principals. We may flip these dates, but for the moment, they're tentatively scheduled for the new middle school September 14th and West Cypress Hills September 21st. We'll put that information on our website, so be just forewarned. If you think you're coming to one and it's the other one, you might be, nobody will be there, go to the other school, but we'll make sure we know about the details before then. Now, people sometimes want to know where are our buildings in the district and where are our future sites in our district. I just want to show you, this is where the construction is going on right now. Those green boxes, Hudson Bend expansion, the new LTMS, West Cypress Hills Elementary School, and an expansion at the high school. That's our current construction and where it's located throughout the district. You see the two buildings out on either side of 71. On the western side, it's where all the growth is occurring predominantly. But what other property do we own? We have a piece of property here, 136 acres. That's for high school number 2. That's where our transportation facility is located, and our new technology center was added on to the distribution center. Those areas are right there, and we have another 100 acres or so for high school number 2 if we need it. It can also be a middle school site or an elementary site. Who knows what we'll use that for eventually, but it's a nice, very nice piece of land. Relatively flat, which is a rarity in this area. The Hurt Tract we have is a 40-acre site near West Cypress Hills Elementary for a possibility of a middle school. Needs to be a little larger. Elementary schools, we'd like 12 to 15 acres. Middle school sites need to be a little bit bigger. High school sites need to have quite a bit of room. We have a piece of land out on Old Ferry Road, 18 acres, way out west, because we know that growth is coming. It's just a matter of time. And we also have a piece of land, nearly 90 acres, there on facing 71, just past Bee Creek Road and the Granite area right there. Very beautiful piece of land for the possibility of a athletic facility at some point in the future. If we have multiple high schools, there was a conversation years ago to have a piece of land in case we wanted to build an athletic center that was shared by multiple high schools. So that land is there for our use. We're also in conversations with a couple of developers. There's a 12-acre site we're looking at in Rough Hollow, and then another 12-acre site. We've just started conversations with the developer out on Hamilton Pool Road. And so we've got room to grow. We've got land. If you've got 12 to 15 acres that's reasonably flat, we will take a donation from you. We'd rather not pay for it for obvious reasons. But if you've got acreage, we'll be happy to talk to you about that. So that's where our growth is going to occur. And you see the bulk of that out 71. So let's talk a minute about what are some of the great things going on in our school district. Our district was named the College Board's 4th annual AP District Honor Roll. A record 28 of our students were National Merit Scholars this past year. 5 years ago, it was 3. That's an astonishing increase of success in our students, our top students. Hudson Bend Middle School, Texas School to Watch Award this year. Lake Travis Elementary School, National Title I Distinguished School. Our high school often recognized America's Best High Schools Newsweek, U.S. News World Report, Texas Monthly, and so forth. We've garnered 19 team and individual state championships in the last few years. That's astonishing. Won the Lone Star Cup 2 years ago, which is a competition in school districts. 4-star rating in the FAST report, which is a financial report with the state of Texas. For the 11th consecutive year, superior achievement under the Texas financial rating. And then amazingly, we are one of 12 school districts in the state of Texas out of 1,030 to have a AA plus bond rating from Fitch Ratings and Standard & Poor's. That is incredible. That helps us pass bond elections. That helps us get the money. That is a sign of the economy in our area. That is an astonishing number, one of 12 out of 1,000 school districts. Now let's talk for a minute about budget and finance. You can't see this, but I just want to tell you that it's there. This is a page on our website that we call our transparency web page. If you go to our very first web page, there's a link right on the side that says financial transparency. If you go to this, you will see our current and previous budgets, our annual financial reports, 3 searchable check registers for the current year and the past 2 years, searchable check registers. our School First reports, which is an accountability system, and then very, very detailed information about our current debt and our previous debt. The comptroller has encouraged districts to display this information. We've got more than you want. Johnny Hill, our CFO, can answer questions for you. If you want to look at that, we highly encourage you to take a look at that. And as we get closer to bond elections in the future, we will enhance this with more information as well and provide a great deal of detail about our debt, our current and existing debt, the debt we're taking on, and so forth. We think a well-informed citizenry is key to passing bond elections. And our community has supported bond elections historically. And I think if you do it right, you tell people what we're getting into, what we've gotten into, how long it's going to take to get out of that, most people will support a bond election if they think you're managing their money well. Anything you want to know about our finances is on that website. And if you think of something that's not, call Johnny and he'll put it on there. We want to be as transparent as we can. We received an award from the Comptroller's Office this year, the Gold Circle Award. Comptroller started this back in 2009 to recognize school districts and local municipalities for their transparency. And they're recognizing districts that open their books to the public, provide a clear, consistent picture of spending, and have a user-friendly format. Now, it's not user-friendly to me because I was not a finance or accounting major. But if you're financially inclined, it'll make sense to you. But if you got a question about that, you call Johnny Hill. He can explain it to you all day long. Now let me talk to you about our tax rate. This is a bar chart, histogram showing our tax rate since 2003 and 2004. What you don't remember probably, and might not even believe me, is we dropped your tax rate by 1/3 by state law in 2005 and 6. Over a 2-year time period, your tax rate went from $1.50 to $1, and then the local board added 4 pennies back to that at their discretion. Nearly every district state had to do that. It was to have been replaced by the business margins or franchise tax, and it wasn't, as we know now. So nobody remembers that. Gosh, we dropped your tax rate by 1/3, and it's to have been replaced. We also raised taxes by 9 cents in November 2011 because of the bond election. That raised the debt service side. The black bars at the top are our debt service tax rate. The red bars at the bottom are our M&O tax rate, our operating tax rate. Since 2007, our M&O tax rate has not changed. We're at the legal limit of $1.04. We can call a tax ratification election, sort of like a bond election, a TRE. It used to be called a rollback election. Now people got confused because they think of Walmart. When you roll something back, it gets better. When you roll it back, you go to an earlier, higher tax rate, or you raise the tax rate. So it's now called a ratification election. We cannot raise taxes without a TRE, and we would get only 2 additional pennies. That would take us to the 6, what we call golden pennies. And that means if we do that, we would get $1.5 million to our budget every year that's not subject to recapture. The state doesn't take their share from a Robin Hood or a property wealthy district. Anything beyond that, and there are what's called 11 copper pennies. The maximum tax rate in the state of Texas is $1.17. Those are subject to recapture. I don't think you're going to pass a TRE if I got to give 38% of those additional pennies back to the state. That's a dumb idea for a superintendent to do that. You might support a TRE for 2 additional pennies if we get to keep that. But that's where we are. Our tax rate has not, our M&O tax rate has not changed since 2007. What you don't know about our finances, we lost 1/3 of our revenue in 2005. Our M&O tax rate has essentially stayed the same. The only increase in taxes we've had has been for the bond election in 2011. That cannot be applied to our daily operating costs. That is only for capital projects, buses, if we spelled that out, technology, if we spelled that out in the bond election, which we did, but nothing to do with salaries or daily operating costs. If we have $3 million left over at the end of this bond election, and we were very frugal with our building, we can't move that over and offset salaries, not 1 penny. It's against the law. School districts have operated without any increase revenue since 2006. In 5 years, as you saw, our student enrollment has increased 33.7%. Our operating costs have only increased by 7.8%. 38% of our local property taxes go to Robin Hood. And since 1995, that number is $340 million American dollars. It's a lot of money. I don't disagree with the concept of sharing the wealth. I think we've gone too far. 38% of our local taxes going back to the state is a chunk of money. We're one of approximately 212 districts in the state that offer optional homestead exemption. We provide the full 20%. You may not know it, but you only pay taxes on 80% of your home value, not 100%. The majority of the districts in the state of Texas do not do that. Some offer a 1% homestead exemption, 5%, 10%. We offer the full maximum 20%. It's one of those things, what have you done for me lately? You don't remember you ever doing that? I'm just paying my taxes and they're too high. Most people don't realize they're only paying school taxes on 80% of their house value. And finally, the biggest kicker is any increase in local tax revenue is offset by an also often almost equal reduction in state aid. We're building 8,700 homes in the next 10 years. We've got a hotel going up at the Galleria and more to follow. Retail's popping up. Home prices are going up. We're building left and right. And none of that stays in the local school district. Any increase, we could add $100 million to our local revenue, and the state reduces our state contribution by an equal amount. It's just a scale, it's a balance. And people don't know that. They look around, look at all this building, man, we're living large. We do not get to keep that money because of the state finance fund. Now, Judge Dietz is ruling on the constitutionality of that. The state attorneys tried to have him recused. That failed. He's expected to rule that the state finance system is unconstitutional again. We are not expecting, however, significant relief from that ruling or the legislative session next spring to affect fast growth, property wealthy districts. We are not counting on a windfall really of any kind. We don't know what will happen, but we're not counting on any significant improvement in our finances. As a result of these events, we are facing a $3.9 million deficit for next year. We have created a two-phase plan for that with the help of our staff. We have a phase one list of items that we're reducing our budget for next year, and it looks like this. Those first items, I don't expect you to read this, it's just to show you we've got $1.7 million on a list. Phase two will have the balance of that, and we'll work on that list this fall. The things above the red line are purely administrative kinds of things that we cut first and then went through about a 3-month process with our staff to come up with the balance of that list. Now, I don't want you to read this necessarily, but people talk a lot about we spend too much on administration. It's a very common myth that I hear a lot. And it's so common that the Texas Education Agency came up with a comparison that all districts are created for us. We don't create it. It's created by TEA. It's called the administrative cost ratio. So you take out anything that's not administration or related to teaching and learning. You take out expenses for buses, transportation, gasoline, utilities, whatever. And you're just comparing all of your administrative costs with all of your curriculum, teaching, and learning costs, okay? And what is the ratio? And they do that for every district in the state of Texas to see if you're out of whack. So let me show you. You don't read the detail. This is our cost ratio. It was done. You can't see that. It's January 2014 is current. Those are all of our administrative costs. That is instructional leadership, central office leadership, our payroll, contracted services, supplies, materials, travel, anything you can think of is $2.9 million compared district-wide to all teaching salaries, library, special ed, GT, whatever, $34 million. When you compare those two, that is an administrative cost ratio of 8.75%. Okay, what does that mean? The state's table says that's their standard. For districts our size, it should be 12.5%. We are 30% below the state's expectation on administrative costs. 8.75% when you just compare those two pots of money. District-wide, with all the money, it's 4%. Way in line with the state's expectations. People will tell you we're administratively fat, overpaid. Maybe true about the overpaid part. I don't think so, but we are not spending a significant amount of our budget on administrative costs. When we're looking at deficits, a quick response is to say, cut all the football program. We got too many kids playing football, and cut all the administrators. They don't do anything anyway. You need to know, as a community, our district is spending your tax dollars wisely. And that is, we're very proud of that ratio of being a third below the state's expectation for districts our size. Finally, advertising opportunities. I want to recognize some partners we've got for our new video display: Lakeway Regional Medical Center, Prosperity Bank, Jaguar, Range Rover, Land Rover, Lakeway AC and Heating, Nitro Swim Center. You see those folks there. Church at Lake Travis, Realty Austin. We have 3 available, by the way. If you have $7,000 approximate dollars, Suzanne Stone. Suzanne, stand up again. Suzanne will take your money. We have 3 of those left on our video display. And just so you'll know, we've received so far $143,000 from those groups who've already signed up in 10 months. We expect that will cost $450,000 for the video display was the cost of that. We'll pay that back in 3 years, or that will be accelerated if you step up. Zabranik Custom Homes, man, it's awesome. That'd be great up there, Steve. And we also have some other advertising. Part of Suzanne Stone's role is to expand our advertising because of the financial situation we find ourselves in. And districts do all kinds of things, and she has greatly expanded that role. If you have any interest in that, she is here. Grab her card, contact her, and she would love to take your money. And seriously, we enjoy a great partnership, and we would love to expand that. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1939 World's Fair at Flushing Meadows, New York. It was significant because it was the first televised presidential speech, except no one had a television. It was a closed circuit system at the time, and it was a test. And what's interesting about that, a great deal was written about this event, and the criticism was TV will never catch on because, unlike a radio, you have to sit and watch it, and a radio will allow you to go about your business, and it will never catch on. Who could have predicted 75 years ago the transformative power of that, we used to call it a box, that flat screen? The average person watches 5 hours of TV a day, 33 hours of television a week. That goes up if you're over 65, nearly 50 hours per week. We had no way of knowing in 1939 what that one thing would do for or to our society. Those hours don't count what they call now time-shifted television. You know what time-shifted TV is? If you're under 40, you probably figure that out. If you're not like me, I had to read about it. Watching it on your iPad or your phone at some other time other than when it's scheduled. You DVR it or Hulu or whatever, Netflix. Those hours aren't counting time-shifted television. Our challenge as a school district is to look 25, 50, 75 years into the future and try to predict, will there be another television transformation? We don't know. Technology has changed so quickly in the last 30 years. When I started teaching, there were no cell phones, there was no internet, there was no email. Holy smokes, what will my children at 19 and 22 nearly do? What will their children experience? That's the challenge of our school district, and I love the idea that we're on the cutting edge, and our district supports, our community supports our district. We pass bond elections, we're able to purchase technology, we're able to stay current, and I don't know what FDR would think today, if we'd made progress or not. I'd like to think he would. But that's the challenge for us down the road. That's our purpose. I want to point out, you've got a very nice brochure at your desk from Marco Alvarado and his department. You got a couple of goodies to take with you from Holly Morris-Kuntz and our HR department. We hope you enjoy those. Now I've got some questions. I'll take questions if anybody, that's pretty much it, but I'll take a couple of questions. Nice, easy, pleasant questions, no complaining about your tax rate or anything like that.